Konnichiwa, Nihon Cricket Pod de Yokoso. Welcome to the Japan Cricket Podcast. Coming to you from Windhoek, Namibia. Well, half of us are anyway. I'm Alan Kerr, your host as always, and with me is my co-host in Melbourne, Todd Luckhurst. Hi, Todd, how are you?
Hello, Alan. Good morning to you over there in Windhoek, and hello to everyone listening to the pod. How is things over there in Namibia, Alan? How's the hotel and how's things been? I know you had a long trip over there. I did send you a message. I thought you would have been there, and you were in Ethiopia, I think, at that time.
That's probably that's probably a good place to start, actually. We didn't get touched on this before we came on. Yeah, the journey over was long. I mean, it's funny. It was long for us traveling from Japan, a group of eight or nine of us. But actually, we arrived here at, I don't know, one, two-ish, something like that. And we got to the hotel at 3:30. So 3:30 is not too bad. You kind of get to check in and settle. But then the boys traveling from Brisbane didn't get here until 8:30. They landed at 8:30. We didn't get them back to the hotel till almost 11 o'clock. Um,
Mm.
And I thought to myself, I was actually messaging Kendall when we were checking in at the airport and they were checking in at the same time. And yet they didn't get to the hotel till 7 hours after us. And of course, I felt like my journey was long. So an extra 7 hours on that was pretty tough for that group. So yeah, it was long. It was long and it was complicated. There were a few issues around some of the boys didn't have the right paperwork, particularly the Aussie group. So there was some scampering at the airport, I think, which Kendall did very well to get sorted out. And then, yeah, the bags. Ah, the bags. Well, actually, before we get to the bags, we our group arrived, and when you arrive at Windhoek Airport, it's a bit of a scrum. You get off the plane, you walk across the tarmac towards the terminal, and there's just a huge open door, like space. It's not really a door, it's just a space. And everyone just scrambles to get in. There's no queuing system or file system. You just bosh your way in. And so it was a bit madhouse. And by the time we got inside the actual terminal, you kind of see there's a few sort of bits of paper directing, passport holders left and people needing visas right. And so I went, right, boys, we're going this way. And I started going, but none of the boys were behind me. And I got to where I was going and got into this queue for people who had obtained visas in advance. And then some woman's yelling at me, yelling my name. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, and it was the girl from Cricket Namibia. And she said, oh, look, you can go through the diplomatic area. I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. So I come out, I'm feeling very important at this point. And we all all the team come and we all cut through the queues and we're standing at the diplomatic space. And there's a few people in front of us and there's a couple of people with kids and we kind of let them go ahead of us. And then we get to the desk, and yeah, the guy there was like, "Well, you're not diplomats." And I'm like, "No, I'm definitely not, but I'm going to be as diplomatic as possible." We're just here for the World Cup, and the girl and him had a bit of a head to head. Things didn't go particularly well. She said, "Look, I brought a group through here, this desk yesterday. The Sri Lankan team came through, and he was having none of it, and he was like decided to make life particularly difficult. So we had a form you have to fill out on arrival, and our form was all printed on A4 paper. And he said, no, it has to be on A5. So here's the A5, go and fill it out again. So, so all of us went back, filled out this form, and I just said, look, guys, I think we should just go back to the original queue because he's gonna find something else to make things difficult. So we went back around to the queue, and it just took ages to get through. And actually, a couple of guys, Duncan and Nihar, had already arrived, so we could see them in the baggage claim terminal. But it was funny, like our liaison officer was able to come out and meet us. Like he's just a normal bloke, and yet he's walking through the airport, back through security to us, waiting to go through immigration, through baggage claim, and he's just going in and out as he likes. I'm like, it's bizarre. Anyway, eventually we got through and back to the hotel. It was pretty painful, but we got there. So myself and Duncan went back to meet the guys coming in from not just Brisbane. Skylar had come in from England, from London, and Kaisei had come in from Sydney. And they'd all connected. Well, they were supposed to have all connected. Skylar got delayed out of London, so he missed his connection in Dubai. So he didn't meet up with the guys in Dubai, and he got diverted through Johannesburg rather than Cape Town. Now, because all those boys were on flights with Emirates through Dubai into South Africa, they then got a domestic flight, still booked through Emirates, but a different airline from within South Africa into Windhoek. And that's where the problems really began because the boys arrived and myself and Duncan went to the airport to meet them. And when Kendall finally got out, he just said, none of the bags are here, not a single one. So 17 bags were missing. So actually, Duncan's bag had got lost. We already knew about that one. So of that group of eight guys, all 16 bags were missing. Oh no, sorry, nine guys, but weirdly, Taylor's bags. He had his, but no one else had theirs. So yeah, we worked out 17 bags had gone missing. Duncan's came back that night. The rest came back the next day, but the last bag we only got yesterday, 5 days late. Um,
Oh wow.
Amusingly, that was Kendall's golf clubs. So he's straight to the course today. So yeah. So it was a bit of an adventure getting here. But we are all here. Well, we're not all here actually. One more to come. Charlie should be getting on the plane around now, I think. Um, so Charlie arrives tomorrow night, going the same route as the others. So I am a little bit concerned about his bags. But we will see how that turns out. Our liaison officer was terrific. He was working with the airport, and putting a lot of effort in to try and make sure we got all of our stuff. So yeah, that's how things started, Todd. Nice, easy landing at
Wow.
the World Cup.
Very eventful, Alan, by the sounds of things. And Windhoek, what's it like over there in Namibia, Alan?
So when
Is
we
it
flew in,
cold
I was
from
quite
what I can see?
surprised. Yeah, it's very green, a lot greener than I was expecting, and it's because it's been the rainy season for the last like 3 months. So their cricket season here normally starts late January, early February. They've pushed it to February this year because of this tournament. Um, and that's because of the rains they get. So we are still having a bit of rain, and I'm sure we'll touch on that shortly. I came out this morning, and there's been a lot of rain overnight. It looks like the outside of the hotel is very wet. Um, we haven't. The hotel we're in is in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there's literally not even a shop that you can walk to. Um, the complex is very nice. There's a swimming pool, there's a gym. It's big, spacious. We've got the way the hotel is laid out. You come out the lift. We're on the third floor. You come out the lift, and you turn right, and our corridor is all of our team, all on one corridor. And then there's another team, the Sri Lankan team, are on if you turn left. So we're completely segregated from them. We don't really see them at all, apart from in the lift and in the communal areas. But on our floor, we don't have any interaction with them. And I think all the teams are here. So all eight teams are in this
Oh,
hotel. Um, and I think that is producing a few little issues. Breakfast was certainly very crowded this morning, and a lot of like trafficking with the bus. But the biggest one is the laundry. So you've got eight teams all putting in their laundry every day, 10 pieces per plane. You've got, well, what is that? Eight teams, 20 people at least per team, 10 pieces of laundry. I mean, you work it out. Um, so that's a lot of laundry, and they're struggling. Like they were supposed to be. It's not going like the other night. It got back at 3 in the morning.
oh,
So it has all come back. No one's lost anything yet, touch wood. But that's definitely making it pretty challenging for the hotel. But I mean, in terms of the town, yeah, there's just some shopping malls. So we've been out to two or three different ones, just to sort of have a look around and see what's there, and eaten out a couple of times. Myself and a few of the boys went to a new shopping mall yesterday and just had a bit of food there, and mainly just steaks and pizzas on the menu, I think, from what I've been seeing. But I think mostly, I'm hoping that we've got a bit of a day off today, so I'm hoping we'll actually go and see a little bit more. We've seen there's a big famous church and a museum that I'm quite keen to check out. There's a bit of history and about the independence of Namibia, which Namibia became independent from South Africa in 1990. But it does feel like mini South Africa. Like you go into the shops and there's all the Springbok jerseys, the South African rugby jerseys on sale. Um, and you speak to the guys and they all kind of support the South African rugby team and stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, it's
oh,
interesting.
okay.
So yeah, it's a nice place. The people are super friendly. The hotel staff are really helpful. Um, and yeah, I've got no complaints. It's nice. The weather is generally pretty good, sort of low to mid 30s, and sunny and hot when it's not raining.
Yes, when it's not raining, and that's a good segue into we're going to go through the warm-up game for against Tanzania, Alan, which was unfortunately reduced overs for Japan's batting due to rain.
Yeah, it was a bit of a chaotic game of cricket, really. These games, these warm-up games, look, they don't run like ordinary games do because you can bat 11 players and you've got players coming on and off the field all the time. The sort of setup, I mean, the ground was fantastic. I mean, we'd had two training sessions in advance, but this was our first time at the United ground. So we'd been training at a place called Wanderers. Again, a lot of the cricket grounds are named after South African cricket grounds. So we've been training at the Wanderers. I ate at a place called Cape Town Fish Market, and there's another restaurant called Stellenbosch that's been recommended. So again, the South African thing there. So yeah, a couple of training sessions at the Wanderers, and then we went across to United, which is a wonderful facility. It's really nice. And the warm-up games kind of have a feel that it is a real game. They're trying to do everything properly. But then you kind of realize it's not because, just the way that things are changing around. And we got in there and yeah, we bowled the first 3 or 4 overs were pretty chaotic and we missed a few leg side wides, which ultimately we gave them a lot of runs. But actually we bowled some pretty good wicket taking deliveries. So both Kazuma Kato Stafford and Kai Wall um, clean bowled players. So I think we had them 3 down for not too many. But then they're obviously mixing around their batting order. I think their captain came in at number 7 when we had them sort of 60 odd for 5. And he just dug in and clearly his aim was to bat the 50 overs. And of course, because you can play all 15 of your squad, they've obviously batted their 11 best batters so that they all get a hit, which is fair enough. So on another day, we might well have rolled them over for 80, 90 or 100. But because they had deeper batting than normal, they were able to stick around and fight it out and got themselves up to 200 for 9, I think it was, after 50 overs. And again, for us, we're bowling different bowlers. We want to make sure that everyone's getting a chance. So I think you've got the scorecard in front of you, Toddy. Do you want to just run through sort of how the bowling went?
I do. So Tanzania 204 for 9 of their 50 overs. We had Kai Wall 1 for 43 of 8. Kaz Kato Stafford 2 for 32 of 6. Nico Pell 1 for 25 of 6. Hugo Kelly none for 26 of 8. Nihar Palmer 3 for 15 of 5. Sandev Wadage 1 for 20 of 8. Gabby Harahins none for 29 of 6. And Timothy Moore 3 overs 1 for 9.
Yeah, so Tim just bowled the 3 overs. He felt a twinge in his back, so he came off the field. He's fine, but he didn't want to risk pushing it further, so that's why he didn't bowl more than he did. And again, you shared it around. So Nihar, I think, had 3 for 4 after his first 3 overs, and was taken out of the attack. So in a normal game, he's probably bowling 10 overs straight through. They had 2 lefties in for a while, which I think was why he came off. But um, like I say, on another day, we probably bowled them out for a lot less. And probably our intensity dropped a bit. Nihar took 2 and 2. And I think at that point, the boys thought we'd roll through them. But when you come to a World Cup, teams aren't just going to roll over. You're not going to get given anything. And that's been the sort of the messaging we've been given to the boys. And if you're even 5% off your game, you're going to get punished. And Tanzania, look, we don't really know much about them, but they've obviously done pretty well to get here. They've beaten teams like Uganda, Namibia, the hosts, Nigeria, who've all been present at World Cups in previous years. Namibia under 19s actually have a pretty good record. So they've beaten them to get here. So they're not going to be a bad side. I think the depth in Africa is actually probably a bit stronger than we realize because we don't get to see a lot of that cricket. But I do think it's developing pretty well. And for us, yeah, I think at 200 we were relatively happy at that stage in the game. It meant we had something on the board to chase. But then unfortunately, the rains came. So what happened was there was probably a few drops around just towards the end of the innings. And as we went for lunch, suddenly the thunder and the lightning rolled in. So it was a proper storm. And we were sat for the best part of 3 hours, probably, just in the tents. Like we're in tents, we're not in a changing room. We had a changing room off to the back. But you had to walk through the rain to get there. It's quite funny actually. One of the Tanzania staff locked one of his players in the changing room by mistake. That was quite amusing. Um, but yeah, so we're just sort of sitting around, and I think the boys probably did switch off a little bit. It certainly looked like we weren't going to get back on. the things that we were being told was that the drainage wasn't that great at the ground and that it would be unlikely. So we got told that the latest possible start time was 10 past 4, because for a 50 over game, you have to have a minimum of 20 overs in the second innings. Um, so we got told at 1:30 that there would be an inspection at 2:30, and then another one at 2:30. We were told at 3:30, and it was at 3:30 that we got told that 4:10 was the latest start time, and then they confirmed at about must have been about 3:50. They confirmed that we were going to be starting in 20 minutes. So I think we've got set a target of 127 in the end. So again, I mean, we didn't really talk about it much, but I certainly felt that that target of 6.5 and over. I don't feel that they were, those guys have scored at fours across their 50 overs, and suddenly we've got a target of 6.5 over 20 overs. I didn't feel that was a great target, but at the same time, it gave us something to chase. But this team have never played a T20 game together, so they've very much spent the last 18 months preparing for 50 over run chasers, and that's the strength of this team. A lot of them do go out there and bat time, and the coaches decided to stick to our normal batting order. I'm not sure they would have changed too much, regardless, but they stuck to the batting order, and I think there's probably just a few frazzled minds out there, and the boys not really knowing how to go about the chase. Because actually 6.5 and over shouldn't really be that hard, especially with we had a 4 hour a 4 over power play at the start, and then the 4 over batting power play at the end. So um, unfortunately, yeah, there were a lot of bad shots. I mean, most of the top order were caught trying to play big shots and getting caught on the boundaries. And then things just sort of capitulated towards the end with some pretty bad run outs. So yeah, we're not, we kind of look at it as an exercise that you have to learn from. And I think for the guys, probably a bit of a wake up call, but we don't necessarily feel that there was a huge amount between the teams. I think when you get bowled out for a score like that, it looks terrible. But Sydney Thunder got bowled out for 15 once, so yeah, it can happen to anyone. So I think that we've just got to use that experience. We didn't say much to the boys after the game. They just told them to pack their bags, come home, and then we sat down and chatted to them yesterday when sort of the emotion had gone out of it and could think a bit more clearly about things. And yeah, Ray has been doing a really good job with sort of getting the boys to talk and getting the boys to sort of try and um, analyze themselves, what they did and how they approached things, and then give them a little bit of feedback around that. Of course, we've got Kendall, the men's team captain here, Kendall Pedawaki Fleming, and Duncan Harrison, our consultant, who's got plenty of experience with them, and they're able to speak to the batters, and we can discuss what we did differently. And there was a couple of comments that were interesting. Certainly, from the fielding point of view, the guys said that they felt that we probably dropped off a little bit every time we took a wicket, and we thought maybe things would come a bit easy. So that's a learning. And with the bat, yeah, I think there was just some scrambled minds, really.
Yeah, so just with the bat, Japan, Alan said the target was 127 off 20 overs. Unfortunately, all out for 45, so we won't cover that too much, but it just shows, doesn't it? It's a little bit off, and the result can definitely go against you. But sometimes you just put a line through it and move on to the next game because it is a warm-up game, and fresh off the plane and all those things. And I'm sure the boys will have a good account of themselves in tomorrow's game, which is Tuesday, warm-up game against the West Indies.
Yeah, the West Indies. So, I mean, I don't think, certainly the Japan men's teams, I don't think we've ever played against the West Indies before. So that'd be pretty cool. They're in the same hotel as us. I mean, all the teams are in the same hotel, but the West Indies have got some big boys, and it'd be interesting to see what they throw at us. I'm sure they're going to be a strong side. They've won this tournament before in not too distant memory. So yeah, it'll be a good opportunity for us to go up against a full member and see how we compare. Like the boys shouldn't be too overawed by this stuff. I'm sure we've covered it on the podcast in the build up to this about how these this side has played against India and Pakistan and Sri Lanka and you know a, a lot of strong teams in the ACC tournaments and at the Asia Cup and even against Nepal and guys like that in the Premier Cup. So they shouldn't be overawed by anyone they come up against here. But again, we talked a bit yesterday. Sort of one of the goals for this team really is to get on the plane to go home as a better team than we were when we got here, and as better players individually. So That's going to be the goal, and I guess that's probably the mantra we're going to be repeating a little bit over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, of course. West Indies headed by Jewel Andrews played five T20Is and three ODIs. So it'd be exciting to see how the boys go against him. He's a bit of a powerful hitter with the bat and keeper.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, some good players around for sure. I mean, we've got to play Australia in the first game, right? And they've got Ollie Peake, who's been smashing sixes in the Big Bash and winning games for the Renegades. So he arrived a couple of days ago, and we've seen him around. And we actually watched Australia where we were training at the Wanderers yesterday. The Australia-Afghanistan match was on the field that we've been using for our fielding the previous days. So we sat and watched a bit of that, and it was funny looking at Ollie Peake. He looked horribly out of sorts, in truth. Dropped first ball, scratched around for a bit, got one boundary away, and then dismissed shortly afterwards. He was dismissed for 4 off 8 or something against the Afghan team, and Australia got turned over. They made 167 in 38 overs or something, and the Afghan team won it 6 down. So um, it's interesting how that change in environment. Ollie Peake was talk of the town just a few days ago. But of course, over playing for the Melbourne Renegades, there's no pressure on him. He's just the young kid coming through. But he comes here, he's captain. Everyone's looking at him because he was the guy just playing in the Big Bash. Um, and it's a very, very different setup and different environment. So, I think it's a bit of adapting for everyone. It's not just us. And I think as we look around at these teams, you see that there's good players, and there's players who will go on to be. You just mentioned, Julian Andrew. Like there's players in the West Indies who are playing for the men's side, and there's going to be players across the board who are, going to go on and have terrific careers. So for our boys, the chance to play against these guys and see how they measure up is really exciting.
It is very exciting, and sure everyone can't wait to see how we go against all these emerging young players. So we've got the game tomorrow. Then the next game is a bit of a break for the first group game on Saturday against Sri Lanka.
Yeah, so Sri Lanka first on Saturday the 17th, and then Australia on the 20th and Ireland on the 22nd. So the games come relatively quickly after that, but we do have a sort of a bit of a break, 14th, 15th, 16th, 3 days. We might try and get out and do something, try and go and see some animals. I reckon there's a wildlife sanctuary not too far away, so try and check that out, I think. But it's good to try and get the boys away from cricket a little bit because we are a little bit confined to the hotel. And I think it can become a bit intense. But at the same time, we were saying to the boys yesterday, this is an opportunity that they might not have again, where you kind of get to live the life of a professional cricketer. You're staying in a nice hotel, you're being well looked after, you're being bussed around, you're training almost every day. We've given them an enforced day off today, but they're going to go and hit the gym and do a bit of work for an hour as a group. So that's coming up. So even yesterday, we had the media day yesterday, which was a first for all the boys. And for me, it's quite funny because it's hard not to compare everything to 6 years ago when we came to the World Cup in South Africa. And at that media day, I had a lot of flashbacks to that media day, and they only interviewed 3 players at that media day, whereas this time they interviewed every single one. So I sat in on the interviews, and Ben was out with the guys doing all the other stuff. I don't know if you've seen the clip on Insta of the boys with the bat and putting it into the helmet. So that was
I was
Benny's
about to say,
idea. That wasn't the ICC's idea. That's all Benny Todd Davis. So huge credit to Benny because that's gone really well. Last time I checked, it had 3.5 million views. It's only been up for 12 hours or so. So I think the boys, got around that, and it's a new experience for all of them. And in the interviews, man, there were some nervous boys. Like it's just you walk in there and you're sitting down, and there's a spotlight on you and big cameras and people asking you questions, and I think they're all a bit like, whoa, this is intense. So they went well, and again, it's just sort of a growth experience for these kids. Um, and yeah, the social media has been going really, really well. So again, Benny had a video up of the boys in the nets. He's had two. And on the bowling one, Trent Bolt commented on it. So Trent Bolt made a comment about all the left-handed seamers. And suddenly it's gone a bit mad. So that one's hit 1 million views as well. So yeah, social media is going really well. So do make sure you get on to. We're doing loads of behind the scenes stuff. We did a day in the life of one of the players, went up on TikTok a day or so ago. So yeah, all sorts of different content going across all of our platforms. So Facebook, Insta, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. We'll be trying to cover them all.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone, like Alan said, give it a follow and have a look at the videos. There's been videos going up every day. So, saw Casey Doggett did a day in the life and watch the video of all the boys hitting the ball with the bat and ending up in who caught the ball at the end? I can't remember who it
Ryuki.
was. Ryuki, yes, in a bag. Was it a ball bag?
No, it was a helmet.
A helmet, sorry. Um, yeah, it was very amusing. But was it one take, Alan, or did it take a few times to get it?
I wasn't there, so I
Okay,
actually don't know the answer to that. I need to go and ask Benny. Um,
okay.
I'd like to think it was one take. The boys looked
Well,
pretty fresh, although judging at the excitement at the end, I reckon the excitement for finishing, the bigger the excitement, perhaps indicates the more takes there were. I don't know. And they looked pretty excited when they got it done. So, yeah, I want to find that out how many takes it was. I've seen a few comments asking that actually in the comments underneath. So, yeah, I'll go and find that one out.
very good content. So as I said, everyone have a look at all the socials and get on there and like it and comment. And yeah, Benny's doing a good job.
Yeah, and the boys, the boys are all in there. They're all reading the comments. So, the more support we can have, the better. And we do really appreciate it. It's that we're not under any illusions that the next few games are going to be pretty tough. Um, we know sort of where we stand in the pecking order, but at the same time, we're here to show that we can compete and that we're not just here for a laugh. We're here to actually demonstrate to the world that the Japan cricket teams are, developing and are serious players and not just making up the numbers. So I hope the boys can, give a really good account of themselves over the next sort of week and a bit. And certainly once we come to those last couple of games, if we can leave here with a win, it would be phenomenal. Like the EAP region hasn't won a game at the under-19 World Cup for I don't know how long. So we really hope that this group can do that. And we're not just representing Japan. We do feel like we're representing the whole region. And hopefully we can do them proud.
And yeah, of course, every art doing everyone proud just being in the tournament. But let's hope Japan can get a win, and wouldn't that be amazing for Japan cricket? I think that's probably it for us. We might try and do one next week after the first game if we can. There's a couple of days in between. We'll see how that goes. Probably a stretch to do one in between game two and three. So I think that's probably our next pod, Alan.
Yeah, we'll stay in touch, Toddy. We'll try and figure something out. In the meantime, to everyone else, thanks for the support. And let's go some of that stuff.
Thank you.